Hello guys, and welcome to another TKG Games tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be learning how to reverse a string in different ways, and I'll be using Genie today. Genie is typically the editor that I use while I'm programming in Linux, and it's really bare bones except it has the compile and build buttons up top and execute. This way I don't have to type in the Java and JavaC command all the time. It's already set up for me. Also, I'm using this because I want to show you guys that I'm not a perfect programmer and that everything that I've learned is through practice. So this is pretty much bare bone. I really won't be getting any type of support from the IDE like I would from either Eclipse or IntelliJ IDEA that I typically use. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to create a private, static string method, and I'm going to call this reversed version 1, and it's going to take in a string, and I'm going to call this one original. Alright, so the first thing we want to do first is check to see if our string is empty before we do any type of calculations or any type of procedures. So we're going to say if original dot is empty, then we can just go ahead and either return null, or we could just return original. Alright, so next we want to keep track of our reversed variable, so we need a reverse variable for that. So we're going to say reversed, it's going to be equal to empty string. And by the way, I'm using Java 10, so if you guys are using Java 10, you guys know that local variables var has been added in. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a for loop. Let's say for. We want to take the length of the original. So say the original dot length, and we want to subtract 1 from it because remember there's no terminal byte at the end which we use, and normally we start our index from 0 anyway, right? So it will be the entire length would be that whole entire string, right? But we typically start counting from 0. So we want to say if length is greater or equal to 0, then we keep going, and then we want to do length minus minus. All right, so now that we have that here, what we can do is we can say reversed is going to equal to reversed dot concat, and what I do is going to take original, and see one more error. Original. All right, dot do char at, we'll do length, and then what I want to do is I want to concatenate that with a string, and then we're good to go. And what we can do next is just return reversed. So remember, what we're doing is that we are taking the last most letter and then we're concatenating it with an empty string. So that last letter becomes the first letter and so forth, and the second letter becomes the second letter in the front, and eventually when we get to 0, that would be the last letter, because remember we start our index from 0 to whatever length it is, right, of the string. So what we're doing here is that we're starting from the highest length, and then we're decrementing, and then we're just concatenating that to a new string. So let's go ahead and create main, and we can test that. So let's go ahead and create a string here. Call this hello. And then we can do system.out.line reverse version 1, and then pass in str. Alright, so what we can do now is just save. We can compile, and we see we get no errors. Then let's execute. And compile, we have to build first and then execute. All right, so now that we have that, you can see that hello has been reversed, and we have OLLEH, right? And you can see that it's been reversed. Now, the next what we can do to reverse a string is to do it in place. Okay, so we can reverse a string in place. Obviously, I probably won't go through all the ways that I know how to reverse a string because there are a ton of them. You can do it through low memory operations using XOR, right, which would be things with bit manipulation. You can do it with recursion. But what I want to do is I want to make this as easy as possible, so that people don't get confused. A lot of people don't know how recursion works, so I am going to skip that and eventually handle that in a video itself, where I go step by step with either a Qualcomm tablet or some type of program that shows you step by step how recursion works. All right, so let's go ahead now and implement the second method. So what I'm going to do here is since we're using in place, we need to swap. So think of an array, for example. When we want to swap a number that is less than another number, right, we typically just look at the position, look at the numbers, and if one of the numbers, the first number is less than the second number, we leave it alone. But if the last number is less than the first number, then we swap them, right? So what we're going to do is we want to take the letters that are in the front and the back, and we want to swap them in place. And then we're going to go inside one more and swap them in place until we can no longer do that anymore. So I'm going to do a private static void, and then I'm going to do swap. And what we need is a char. I'm going to use a char array here. Call this chars. And then we need to get the right, and then we need to get the left. Okay, so just think of the right as the rightmost number and the left as the last. Okay, so do left. And then all we have to do now is just swap. So to swap, we just create a temp variable. We're going to say char temp. That's going to be equal to chars the right. And then next we want to do chars dot right. It's going to equal to chars dot left. So we're just taking the rightmost one, and then we're swapping it with the leftmost one. And then what we want to do is we're going to say chars dot left. Keep putting left. That's going to equal to temp. And here we're just swapping right here, right? So now we actually have to go down and create the actual method that does the reversed. All right, so what we need to do is just create another private method, string. I'm gonna call this reversed version 2. I'm taking a string original. All right, so now that we have this original here, we're gonna do the same thing. We'll say if original dot is empty, then we're gonna do is we're gonna return original. All right, so next what we want to do is we want to create a chars array. We want to make a copy of the string, so we're going to say char array copy is going to equal to original dot to char array. All right, so now that we have that original dot to char array, we can now create a for loop, right? So to create a for loop, we need two variables. So what we need to do is we need the start. The start is going to be at 0, and then we need the end is going to be at original. I mean copy dot length. So remember, we want to take the rightmost one, and we want to swap it with the leftmost letter, right? And remember, we have to take off one from here, and then we're going to say if the end is greater than the start, which is always going to be true, right? So imagine if we're at length 12, start is going to be at 0. So what we want to do is we want to either decrement end by 1, and then we want to increment start by 1. All right, so it goes closer and closer and closer. So they come closer and closer and closer to each other. They want to do. Let me kind of shrink this a bit. Next, what we want to do is we want to do end minus minus and start plus plus. All right, so now that we have that, all right, so I bet this is all the way out here. Oh, okay, so now that we have this, what we can do now is we could just swap, right? So we can do a swap, and what we need is our copy. Then we need start, and we need end. All right, and then what I want to do is we want to return the string. So we're going to say return new string, and then we're going to return copy. Hopefully this makes sense. So like I said, it's just like swapping in an array, and we're just doing it from the outmost letters, and then we're going into the letters that are inside and getting closer and closer to the middle. All right, so now let's go ahead and test this. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this and change this to 2. All right, so what I want to do is gonna save. I'm gonna compile, so that worked, and then I'm going to build it and execute. All right, so now you can see that we have the second method runs and the string is reversed. Okay, so what we can do next is we can actually use one of the built-in methods that is part of the StringBuilder class to actually reverse a string. So that's what we are going to go ahead and do next. It's pretty easy using the StringBuilder class. However, StringBuilder classes are not thread safe. So using string buffer is actually better, but we can always go between StringBuilder and string buffer as well. All right, so now let's go ahead and use StringBuilder's reverse method. So I'm gonna go ahead again, create another private static string, and we're gonna call this one reversed 3. Do a string here, original. All right, so we have original here. The exact same thing. Say if original dot is empty, and we're gonna return original. Next one, we want to create a StringBuilder variable. So I'm going to call this one, let's call it copy. So it goes to new string builder. And then we're going to pass in our original string. All right, so next we're going to do is just return copy dot reversed dot toString, and that's it. This is it for reversing a string with StringBuilder. And let's go ahead here and do the same thing. Just going to do Control V, and I'm going to go ahead and do 3. All right, so let's save all, compile, build, execute. Okay, execute. And you can see that we have all 3 strings. Well, we have our hello has been converted, has been reversed, and we have that. And next, what I'm going to do is show you guys one way of doing it, and this one requires you guys to have a little bit of knowledge about data structures, right? I was thinking about doing recursion, like I said, but I wouldn't do. I'm not going to do recursion. I'm just going to go ahead and keep that for another video, because recursion is something that it looks aligned. It reduces your code tremendously, but a lot of people don't understand how it works. Also, it takes a lot of memory as well, so it takes a lot of space on the stack. So this last one has to do with stacks, actually. So this is how stacks work. So remember, stack is first in, last out. Okay, so if we were to push our letters from these string and then pop it, it would be reversed already. All right, so that's one way to do it. So let's go ahead and implement that one. But before we do that, we actually need to import something. So let me go ahead and do the import. So I don't have, I think I had like a stack class somewhere, probably somewhere on GitHub or somewhere on my computer. I don't remember. This is going to be part of the Java util package, and the stack. Okay. All right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and do some things. Do private static string. I'll go reversed 4 string original. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this here. Keep typing it over and over again. Do Control V. All right, so what we want to do is we want to first create a stack. So I'm gonna do stack, and this is gonna take in characters. All right, and then I'm gonna call this. We're gonna call this character stack. Goes to new stack. Right. So what I want to do first is we want to go ahead and we want to push everything. We want to push our numbers from the original array to from the original string to the stock array. And what we can do is we can use a for each loop. So I'm going to say for char character in original dot to char array. All right, what I want to do is we want to go ahead and say character stack dot push, and we want to push in character. All right. All right, so that's done. So next what we want to do is we want to go ahead and pop character, right? We want to pop this character stack now. So now that we want to get that reversed. So let's just make a variable here. I'm gonna call this reversed, and this is gonna be a string. All right, and then what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create another for loop. So say for, and this is gonna be empty. I'm gonna say not character stack that is empty. So while it's not empty, let's go ahead and pop. Push this out. All right, so now I want to do it reversed. It's going to equal to reversed concat to character stack dot pop, and then we're gonna concatenate that with an empty space. And then lastly, we're just gonna go ahead and return reversed. All right. All right, hopefully there's no errors. So let's go ahead and save it, and I'll compile. So it compiled successfully. I'm gonna build it. Give it a second. All right, and now let's go ahead and run it. Oh, by the way, I forgot to add this in here. So I'm just gonna copy this again, paste it, and do for. I'm gonna go ahead and close this for a second. Do build, compile, and then I'm gonna go ahead and run it. And you guys can see that all 4 methods work, right? So this will be it for this tutorial. It's a very lengthy tutorial. I mean, you can always just skip to the ones that you want to use. And I'm going to cover bit manipulation and also cover recursion in one video. Okay, so you guys can see how to use low-level operations to actually reverse a string in another tutorial. If you like this tutorial, thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.